trained the natives to be activists. And what the hell was that about? That was so destructive. They didn't have any work anymore. They shut down the fish farms. They shut down the logging. They shut down the mining. They shut down the offshore fishing. So what were they going to do? They were living on transfer payments and grants from the Visa Fund and a bank in the UK and Mitsubishi and every creepy little Sierra Club activist was up there training them to be environmental activists and calling up the Globe and Mail. $262 million. That buys a lot of activism. Yes?
Hi. Just wondering if you have a position on, kind of touched on a little bit, but the government has signed an agreement with the Obama administration for regulatory cooperation. It's also kind of mentioned in the recent Canada-Europe Free Trade Agreement.
Right.
They'll do regulatory cooperation with Europe. So in the U.S., they're repeatedly, constantly increasing regulations with regard to energy efficiency, use of energy. Just wondering, does that kind of play into this at all? Do you think that, the Sierra Club and those groups have a say in the energy use regulations in the States?
Absolutely.
Is there any way
they're the
for
biggest players.
Is there any way for us to kind of follow along with regulatory cooperation without getting totally screwed over by the fact that we can't use the products that we want to use?
Probably not until you fight them where they live. I mean, these organizations have to be attacked systematically and exposed for what they are, because they are really destroying our economy. I mean, I've been sort of stuck in this story for 7 years, and that's the conclusion that I've come to. That's why we have no growth, because they stop any way of growth. Any path towards growth, they stop it.
Just a super quick follow-up.
Can we now, Steve, and also, can you just ask your questions quickly? We're going to have to set up the next bill. Well, just both of you,
Okay,
you both ask your question.
My thinking from the thing about trusting landowners, I happen to live in a green zone. So when I bought in knowing it was green zone, and I couldn't subdivide my 5 acres, and my neighbors couldn't subdivide their 160 acres, whatever. So I'm going about the balance of trusting owners. As an owner, I am not trusted. But I'm totally for it because I bought in knowing, and by the way, rich farmland, and they do very well on their farm. And the laws were passed to stop people from making temporary quick money and keeping the farm. So I'm going about a balance of legislation.
Okay, and the question?
That's my question. How do you feel about a balanced legislation,
And Steve?
like in the area that I'm in?
And Steve?
Yes.
But I can answer for her.
So we're going to want both questions asked, so we'll
Okay.
get a quick answer, and then we get to set up.
Do you feel there's any hope as far as governments go to fight this? Because I know the London End of the Parliament, we need more people like him. Tony Abbott, he stepped up to the plate, but nobody else is. And Danielle Smith just caved last week for the Wild Rose Party. She caved. I have very little faith in government to do anything about it.
Yeah, but that it's not their fault, it's our fault. They listen to us, and if we don't say anything, they're going to cave. So the more people that we get standing up, the more they will stand up. And I can't see, it's the only way to solve it is to take responsibility for it ourselves.
Write letters.
Yeah, and as far as that Greenbelt thing goes, the thing about country people, and I learned this when I was 8, is that life is very fluid. You have to make your living from 3 or 4 or 5 different sources, and they change all the time. And sometimes you have to sell a bit of land, and next year you can buy it back. You have to start a business, and maybe 18 months later you shut it down, but you've made $15,000, and you cannot wait for somebody 1,000 miles away to give you a permit to do. So there has to be flexibility in rural areas for people's activities, and this neighbor thing that you've got going in Ontario. Apparently in Ottawa, around this region, I heard this from Marlene the other night, twice as many neighborly complaints. It's like old small town Ontario. Everybody's always bitching about it. They're calling up, MNR and saying, ah. It's the way the country is. It's always been like that. These people make noise. They dig up dirt. They are always trying something new. They're trying to make a living. So you have to be both as flexible as a neighbor and flexible as a municipal councillor for these people, because otherwise everyone goes bankrupt. Okay?
Very good.
For the outside audio, so please join us outside and get a book and